I'm David, and in 2019 and then in 2021, I did the JMT southbound in two sections, from north to south, exiting Cottonwood Pass. This year, 2024, I'm going to go the other way, all the way in one good trip, about 30 days itinerary. So today I wanted to talk to you about my selection criteria for my campsites. I know it's a big subjective, but I just want to give you some tools that may help you in your planning, because it's important just to have a visualization of where you're going. So let's get into it. I'd like to break down my itinerary in 4 chunks. That's just the way I thought about it. Starting at Cottonwood Lakes Campground, carrying about 8 days of food, and these are the campsites I picked. Mainly the biggest criteria is doing Mount Whitney. At Onion Valley, I plan on about 10 days of food to include the campground the night before. I really wanted to spend a 0 day at Ray Lakes. At MTR, just a short resupply, it looks like, just because I don't want to carry 12 days of food, is that I will go pick up my resupply and then move on and stay at Marie Lakes. Also haul down near VVR up to Chief Lake, and so on and so forth. But basically 5 days of food. At Reds, I have about 7 days because I'm going to go to Minaret Lake and staying at Garnet Lake if I can. Donahue Pass, of course, Lyle Canyon, again, the Upper Cathedral and Middle Sunrise Lakes. And then depending over my trip over Clouds Rest, do I just stay in Little Yosemite Valley or just head out? So 29 or 30 days is the plan. So now let's build into the tools that I have. Caltopo, Google Earth, and a spreadsheet that you guys can use yourself. Okay, here we go. Caltopo. I ended up to use this for its mapping needs. I'm a geographer after all, and I've shared in the description of this video the URL to this so you guys can navigate this yourself. Some really cool things I'd like to show you. You will notice the legend that I've put up so you can understand how all this works, but it's pretty straightforward. The most important thing to do is to pick the profile. And on the desktop, you'll see it renders it. So now I get it for the day I picked, it gives me an idea. But the most important thing is, if you'll notice, the little line, there's a little ball that follows that path as I move my mouse down to the low point. So right about here at the orange dot is the Wood Creek Bridge, which anybody who's done this is famous, but you'll notice it's the low point. So I can see very quickly that it's at 6.43 miles from my starting point. And so it's about halfway. Well, then I've got about 4 more miles to do the next section. So then I can just navigate up there and the little red dot goes this way. I can hit terrain stats and it creates a pop-up very similar to profile, but it is just kind of nice to get a really good idea of slope and other things. With this profile and terrain view, it really gives you a good idea about the trips in general. But the cool part is if I can pick the base layer and change it to global imagery. So now I get the satellite view of where I'm going. And so it allows you to, it zooms in pretty well. So again, you can zoom all the way in to Kearsarge Pass, and you can kind of see some of my lines didn't do the best, but anyway, it's close enough. But it gives an idea of what Kearsarge Pass looks like in this view. NAIP, which is air photos, may be actually cool as well. So, sure. Really? But what's really nice is that you can just click on one of these and it takes you right to that map and it renders in. So you can kind of get to see where I'm planning to go and things like that. So it's a really great tool to understand better the planning of where the campsites are. And you can see here in the yellow, this is where I've decided to camp, and that's the total goal. Google Earth Pro gives you a great satellite view of the terrain. And so here's an example of Ray Lakes, which is, I love this area. And as you zoom in, you see it gives you that 3D look. So you can kind of zoom in a little bit, and you can kind of see the trail because it's all terrain. So you don't need really an overlay to really see what's going on, but it does give you a cool view, and I can zoom back out. So use Caltopo to get going. This allows you to really grill into what you would like. You can see the trail here, and again, to note that for those of you who haven't been here, this whole section, which is heading down towards Onion Valley and Kearsarge Lakes, and Charlotte Lake is a big popular spot, but there's really no other water. So you either got a camel up down here, or my plan is over here at Bullfrog Lake as I come in from Onion Valley. As you hike over Glens Pass, that while the trail goes up here, the trail looks like it's close to this lake, but it's kind of far down there. So it's a little bit of a schlep down there, and it doesn't look like it's that easy to camp. It's all rock. So again, your choice, but the Google Earth really gives you a great way to look at where you're going to go hike. Highly recommended. Tool is a spreadsheet I pulled together. I will thank Stephen Peters from the JMT Facebook group who provided me the raw spreadsheet that I use. So I just copied his information for here. So here's his itinerary. Donna Welch also shared hers, so I hope she didn't mind. I copied and pasted it in here just for another review. And then Carolyn Higgins, I found on the web, had a really good overview. Here's our web page in the file. The remainder of this video will drill down deeper into these selections. You can kind of start to see I picked 4 key attributes of how I try to decide whether I'm going to hike shorter or longer for that day. Copy it, save it, have fun. Campsite criteria, just like any plan, it's always good to have a plan, but when you're out on the trail, it may go sideways depending on lots of factors, as you may know. But I just wanted to talk about some of my key attributes of the swim, the view, the altitude, and the pass. So let's break it down a little bit further. 1. Swim. While water is definitely important, I like to take a bath to go relax, enjoy, take a little swim, more of a dip in whatever lake or stream I could find. So if I can camp next to a swimming spot for the evening and the afternoon, I'm going to go there. That brings us to number 2, the view. The view at Guitar Lake is so much better than Cranberry Meadows. I'm sorry, that's just my snobby opinion. So the view is more important. As you'll notice in my itinerary, if I could have a swim and a view, I'm pretty much there. That's going to be my key criteria. Number 3, altitude. Kind of related to swimming and views, but not necessarily, is sleeping high. I would rather be higher than lower. So for instance, at the low points of the JMT in the river valley, so for example, Woods Creek is at the low point on your way to Pinchot Pass and Mather Pass and all the way north. I would rather sleep further up if I could. But sometimes, for example, heading up north when you get near VVR, there's really no other good option. So you got to sleep down in the valley. So, but still, altitude is important to me. 4, pass. What I mean by this is the good best practice is to sleep as close to the pass you're going to go over the next morning. So you want to be up close to the pass, which is really good. So this is kind of key as to try to do it as much as possible. But sometimes the challenge is where I'm going to spend that night for the swim is going to deflect from that pass. So I may take the pass in the mid-morning or afternoon, because then I can get to the cool lake. So for example, Lake Marjorie. Lake Marjorie is easier to get to southbound, but going northbound, you kind of quench. So if you're right at the pass, you go over the pass, and then Lake Marjorie is like 5 miles. So that's just the way it is of trying to get near the pass. But to go over Pinchot Pass, but I want to stay in Lake Marjorie because from there, you got to really crank. So hopefully these 4 are good for you. If not, make up your own, but enjoy and have a great hike.